What's up, it's cinemashogun here, and this mystery illness continues to spread across the world like a wildfire. But the more the media talks about it, and the more you really think about it, the more this whole ordeal starts to not really make any sense at all. I mean, their explanation, it just doesn't add up. It makes sense, but it doesn't make sense at the same time. Now, one of the main explanations for what's happening is that, kids have been on lockdown. They've been dealing with these beer bug restrictions, so their immune systems have been weakened. Now, I believe that 100%. That's a point that people were trying to make for years, and we were called crazy because we were questioning the narrative about the beer bug. So I believe that. But the timelines and the way things are happening, it just doesn't make sense. It makes sense for China because China has been stricter with their restrictions than any other place in the world. They're going into their first winter with very little restrictions, right? So it makes sense that they would have this spike in illnesses, I guess. But that doesn't make sense for everywhere else in the world. Now, as this illness started spreading throughout European countries, it was obviously concerning, but at the same time, you think okay, well, in these countries, maybe restrictions were a little tighter than America. Who knows what these people have been dealing with? I've noticed that a lot of people in other countries, they don't really question the government as much. They don't question the motive behind things as much. Sometimes in a lot of countries, a lot of areas, they're way more compliant. So I gave the benefit of the doubt. Okay, maybe these kids are experiencing this as well because, their immune systems are messed up and now life has gone kind of back to normal. But now this thing is spreading through the U.S. It's in states like Georgia and Texas, other southern states. And that does not make sense. You're not going to explain this away. Sure, China just lifted their lockdowns and maybe, they're experiencing an uptick in kids getting sick, but kids have not been experiencing lockdowns or restrictions for a long time. In America, especially in places like Texas and Georgia, there are certain areas in this country that were hardly ever who hardly ever changed their way of life during the lockdowns and the beer bug. So while I agree, yes, kids are going to get sick, kids' immune systems are messed up, this is something that we in America should have been experiencing a couple of years ago, not now. It doesn't make sense for just now, all of a sudden, this is happening. Why didn't this happen last year? Why didn't this happen the year before? Why all of a sudden, 2023 moving into 2024, moving into the next election year, all of a sudden, It's because kids aren't wearing masks and, their immune systems are messed up from the lockdowns. Yeah, they haven't been on lockdown or dealing with those restrictions in years. So what makes sense, and I've made this point in prior videos, what makes sense somewhere else, it does not make sense everywhere. So they're saying that this is not some new type of illness. This isn't a new disease. That this is just a seasonal thing. That's what they're saying right now. Yet, look at how they're covering it. Look at how serious all of these countries are getting. It's not a matter of if restrictions are coming back. Restrictions are already coming back in some places in the world, and I'm sure some of them will come back in America. As I reported to you all yesterday, some places are putting up their plexiglasses. They're putting out their social distancing signs again. But I think this is a point that we all need to really focus on, hammer home to the people that you talk to about this situation. Because sure, it makes sense for China, but that doesn't make sense for America. And if this is not some new illness, why is this spreading? Why are we seeing the same thing happen in every country in the world? And why wasn't this last year or the year before? It's this year, the election year. And it just so happens because China just lifted their lockdowns, all of a sudden kids across the world are getting sick. Kids who had their lockdowns lifted years ago. It does not add up. It doesn't add up. But before I go any further, I'm going to roll this clip from the news, and then I'll be right back with more.
Doctors in parts of the U.S. on high alert after seeing a large uptick in child pneumonia cases that resemble a similar outbreak in China.
Fox 8's Teresa Priolo takes a look at the timeline of the illnesses, which some say is eerily similar to the start of COVID.
'Tis the season to sniffle, sneeze, and cough, especially if you have young kids. And while you might think their virus du jour is a common cold, RSV, or even the flu, you should know both in China, Ohio, and parts of Massachusetts, there's been an uptick of mycoplasma pneumonia.
So mycoplasma pneumonia is also known as community-acquired pneumonia or walking pneumonia. You kind of have a low-grade fever, maybe a temp of like 100 or 99, not even really a fever. And the kids often just have this lingering, hacking cough, but it's not really debilitating.
According to Dr. Diane Hess of Gramercy Pediatrics, walking pneumonia is not usually severe in children, and it does not lead to any long-term issues. What is concerning is that in the midst of all the other viruses we're combating, pneumonia cases appear to be on the rise. However, Dr. Hess is not treating a lot of pneumonia cases currently.
On the list of things that I'm worried about, mycoplasma pneumonia in children is low.
The CDC addressed the outbreaks Thursday.
Based on the information we have now, we believe there is no new or novel pathogen, that these are related to existing pathogens.
The data out of Ohio shows an unusually high number of pediatric pneumonia cases this fall, 145 since August. The average patient is around 8 years old. No deaths have been reported. The illnesses are no more severe than in previous years. In Denmark, they're saying cases have reached epidemic levels, and in China there's been a surge of hospital admissions. When it comes to treating pneumonia, your kid is going to need an antibiotic, so you'll go to the doctor for that. But as far as over-the-counter medication goes, Dr. Hess tells us you want to look for a children's cough suppressant, but really what you want is the expectorant. You want to get that mucus out of their chest. In Montclair, New Jersey, Teresa Priolo, Fox 5.
So another little game they're playing is they're saying, oh, this is happening because we're going into the colder months, the winter. It's because it's the winter, it's cold. You know, people get sick in the cold. Folks, this mystery illness has been spreading throughout China since the summer. China first found out about it in May. They didn't say anything for months on end. And then they finally reported it in November. Now, a day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days later, all of a sudden you got every country in the world, you know, half of America reporting that they got the same thing spreading around. That didn't happen overnight. Ohio and Massachusetts, they didn't figure out overnight, oh, this illness is here. No, they've known. They chose not to say anything about it. And that's just if this is real. It didn't just, oh, well, now the mystery illness is here. No, this thing's been around. And the health experts allegedly knew this. They're reporting on it now. They're talking about it now, but they've already been experiencing this uptick in these cases of childhood white lung syndrome, walking pneumonia. They don't even know what to call it because they're saying, oh, you see, it's not one thing. It's a mixture of like 5 different things happening at once. Sounds kind of crazy to me. But this didn't just happen overnight. No, these things take time. So this isn't just a winter bug. This has been spreading around since the summer, allegedly, supposedly. That's if we're to believe what's being said. So when I look at this situation, and for one, I understand that this thing has been allegedly spreading around for months, and they chose not to say anything about it in China. And here in America, we chose not to say anything about it until it became, oh, well, now it's time to talk about this new illness. So why now? If this thing is no big deal, nothing to worry about, why are they talking about it every single day now? Why is every country in the world talking about potential lockdowns, potential restrictions? Why do we have senators telling Joe Biden to shut down travel to prevent lockdowns? Doesn't make sense. You can't say, oh, this is nothing to worry about. This is seasonal, but hey, we may be having to bring back some of these restrictions. Maybe we want to shut down travel because, we don't want to have to lock down. And it just so happens that, this little seasonal thing, it's happening everywhere in the entire world at the same time. We're all going to break the news within the same week that this thing is spreading around. So, it's hard to tell what's real and what's fake in today's world. But either we're dealing with something real or the mainstream media and the powers that be, they're trying to pull one over on us again with this whole little ordeal. So all in all, just like last time we dealt with something like this, the professional expert opinions and explanations, they don't add up. They don't make sense. They contradict each other. We're dealing with the situation where 1 minute they downplay this, the next minute they hype it up. There would not be all of this hysteria behind something that they don't plan on using to their advantage. So I'm really trying to see what angle they take with this one. But, just knowing that various states throughout America knew that there was this uptick in illnesses for a while and they chose not to say anything. And then once all of this information comes out of China in lockstep, every state and every country in the entire world comes out, 2 or 3 a day. Yeah, it's here now. It's spreading. It's here now. It's spreading. But then when you really look into it, like when you look into what's going on in Ohio, when you look at what was going on in the Netherlands and various areas, it's like, oh, okay, you knew that there was this rise and uptick and that there was this something spreading for a while now, if not months, then weeks. And no one said anything until the major news broke out of China. And then everyone's like, oh, yeah, well, So it's like, like I said, I don't know. They're making it kind of hard to tell what angle they're going to take with this one. Because they're saying one thing, but they're showing another. Their actions are speaking differently than their actual words, if that makes sense. Like they're like, oh, this is nothing to worry about, blah, blah, blah. Yet we're talking about it all day, every day. And we're making a big deal every time it spreads to a new place. And all around, it's just none of it is adding up, in my opinion. And I'm hoping that it all just goes away. But it's 2023. We're moving into 2024. And if you think that 2024 isn't going to be the craziest year of your life, then you're wrong. It is going to be bonkers. It's going to be bonkers. And throwing a new little illness in the mix is something that I fully expect. Will it be this one? Will it be something else? I don't know. We'll find out. But for now, let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you're feeling generous and you want to support this channel, if you like these videos and you want to support these channels and you want to keep seeing videos, you could donate to the channel directly via Cash App. I will have my Cash App in the pinned comment of this video. Also, you could drop a super thanks and support the channel that way. Or there are ways you can support the channel for free by sharing the video on social media, commenting, liking, subscribing, ringing that notification bell. But as always, I'll talk to you all very soon in the next video.